Hello, and thank you for joining us today. This is Alan Brockstein, and before we get started, I have a quick disclaimer. None of the content within this webinar should be construed as investment advice. New Cannabis Ventures is not an intermediary, broker-dealer, investment advisor, or exchange, and does not provide investment advice or investment advisory services. No securities are being offered in this webinar, and we have no access to non-public information. This webinar is not a place for giving or receiving financial advice, advice concerning investment decisions, tax, or legal advice. Please note as well that Emblem is a client of New Cannabis Ventures. We host a dedicated page on our site that helps visitors learn more about the company, the fact-based, data-driven investor dashboard. Investor dashboards quickly tell the story and financial status about the company. You can visit the Emblem dashboard to get the most updated financial information in At New Cannabis Ventures, our primary goal is to help our readers learn about and connect with leading cannabis companies in the industry. We're pleased to be able to go beyond our normal content with this webinar format, which is going to allow our audience to get to hear directly from the CEO of Emblem, Nick Dean. I've personally been following Emblem since well before it began trading publicly. Many of our readers first learned about the company back in 2016 when it was licensed to cultivate but not yet able to sell. The company almost tripled its revenue in the June quarter to over $1.5 million and is well on its way to further growth. The story at Emblem has remained the same, but there have been some changes in leadership, including today's announced board changes. Nick Dean joined earlier this year as CEO and has moved the company forward while making some key decisions strategically, including the recently announced wholesale deal with Aphria. With the company's recent supply agreement with Aphria and its launch into Canada's newly legal consumer cannabis market, this is a great time to listen to Nick share his perspective. We will be getting into the presentation now. Nick will be walking us through the investor deck and then he will take questions. At any time during the presentation, you can type a question into the box. There are a lot of attendees today, so there's a good chance we won't be able to get to all the questions. Nick will answer as many as he can at the end of his prepared remarks. So now, please welcome Emblem CEO Nick Dean, who will talk to us about the company's progress to date and outlook for the quarters and years ahead. Hello, Nick.
Hey, Alan. Thanks for the kind introduction. Appreciate the opportunity to tell Emblem's story on the chat this afternoon, so really appreciate being here. I'm joined by Adam Superia, our Chief Strategy Officer, Alex Stojanovic, our Chief Financial Officer, and Ethan Kay, our Investor Relations guru. And so we'll be available to help answer any questions throughout the presentation as well. But without further ado, we might as well take it away. So next slide, quick disclaimer. We might as well move on to the next one as well. So Emblem throughout 2018 has been on a significant evolutionary path. And we've really attempted to refocus the company's efforts towards the things that we do best and the opportunities that we believe are going to drive the greatest shareholder value moving forward. So the focus of the company has really shifted away from purely just cultivation, but towards value-added products, product innovation, really those products that will drive the high margins, which we expect will drive the long-term shareholder value. We are additionally focusing on multi-channel distribution. So establishing partners with the best in retail, whether it's Fire and Flower or Starbuds in the adult use space, or Shoppers Drug Mart in the medical space. We want to make sure we're aligned with the strongest partners that will have access to those end consumers and patients. And in addition to that, we are focusing on international expansion. So we've partnered with Acnos Pharma, which I'll touch on shortly, based in Germany, that has access to over 20,000 pharmacies in Germany. One of the strengths of Emblem is our brands and our ability to create brands. So product innovation alone is fabulous, but you have to marry those products to brands that resonate with both consumers and patients, both domestically and globally. So we've taken a very concerted effort in our brand evolution and in our brand development to make sure that we are providing a consistent and true experience that delivers the value proposition of our products. And then finally, I think sort of the biggest pivot we've taken is within this space, there's a lot of discussion around funded capacity. And we believe that right now there is an undersupply of product in the Canadian marketplace, but in the near future, we believe that's going to shift and there's going to be an oversupply. We see the price of the cannabis product coming down. And so what we've really focused our efforts on is cash preservation and moving away from capitally intensive, asset-heavy models towards things that would allow us to reallocate that cash and that capital towards the things that we do best, which is building products, creating great brands, and establishing that distribution partnership. So unlimited capacity is a reality for us. The reality is if we have demand for products in the marketplace, both domestically and globally, through the supply agreement structure that we're creating at Emblem, we believe we will actually have unlimited capacity to the raw material inputs. Next slide. Something that we're incredibly proud of, and this is why we are focusing the company on product development and really looking up the value chain towards future product innovation. We're incredibly proud that we have industry-leading revenue per gram, and this is, of course, within our medical product portfolio right now. But from a dried flower perspective, our average revenue per gram is $9. As you move up the value chain to our oils products, which we're now offering in both 60 milliliter bottles and 30 milliliter bottles, we are seeing an average of $15 per gram in revenue. As we move up the value chain again to our oral sprays, which we recently launched about 4 weeks ago into the Canadian medical market, we're seeing $20 per gram in average revenue. So we can see this pattern continuing as we continue to bring new products to market. The next product that we will be bringing is our capsules, which will be entering the market in late 2018. And again, we expect to see even an increased average revenue per gram through that product. Next slide. So, I touched on this briefly in the introduction, but a significant pivot we made through the summer was our supply agreement that we formed with Aphria. And based on our understanding, it is the largest LP to LP supply agreement, we think, in global history. What we've achieved with them is 175,000 kilograms of guaranteed product supply over the next 5 years, which will be commencing in May of 2019. So we're looking at an average of around 25,000 kilograms in our first year and growing. What this really allows us to do, again, as I mentioned previously, is to preserve the cash we have on the balance sheet. So instead of us going out and spending a lot of money on building a greenhouse or acquiring a greenhouse and having to retrofit it, we will instead be reallocating those funds towards what we believe will create the greatest shareholder value in the future, and that's the product innovation and brands. So this gives us a great sense of cost consistency over the next 5 years. We know what our costs are going to be, and in fact, it's going to be on a sliding scale downwards. The contract we've established with Aphria actually brings the cost down over 5 years and is indexed against the wholesale retail price. So again, this allows us to really focus on what we believe we can do best, which is product innovation, branding, and distribution, and allows the cultivators to do what they do best, which is provide premium, high-quality product to companies like Emblem. Next slide. So really, when we look at the future, this sort of reinforces the point I made around unlimited capacity. So in 2018, it's around 2,000 kilograms that we are able to produce and sell to our patients and consumers, and that's through existing cultivation within our Woodsley facility that has the capacity of about 2,000 kilograms a year, but additional supply agreements with partners such as Natura Naturals. Obviously, 2019, that ramps up significantly with the Aphria partnership, 2020, 2021, but ultimately what you can see in this graph is it is limitless. As long as we are able to build our consumer demand and our patient demand and able to continue growing patient counts, we believe that we will be able to acquire and procure the raw material inputs to create our value-added products at lower and lower prices moving forward. Next slide, please. So I really like this quote because I think it reinforces the overall strategic direction of the company moving forward. And this has sort of been a guiding light in our planning decks. But this was from a Forbes article dated April 25th, 2018, and it really comes down to the future of shareholder value. Investing in large-scale cannabis cultivation today is like playing the end of alcohol prohibition by buying a hop farm. What investors should be more focused on is controlling brands and the distribution points for those brands. So something that we like to say is, we would rather 5 years from now, 10 years from now, be known as the Heinz ketchup of cannabis versus the tomato farmer. And I think that's where the greatest long-term shareholder value will come from, is the value of those brands that we create. Next slide, please. So I think I'm probably beating a dead horse here, but that's what we do when we're trying to really help clarify our strategy. So we believe, and this is the focus of Emblem right now, that the future of shareholder value is going to come from processing and formulation, coming up with those unique products. It's going to come from developing a house of brands that is very intentional and doesn't just feel like logo soup. The brands have to mean something. They have to resonate. They have to make the consumer or the patient feel something. They then have to be marketed in a responsible way, and that there are creative ways to market to the adult use consumer in Canada, even given some of the government limitations. And I can touch on that in a bit. But at the end of the day as well, I think there's been this focus on funded capacity. And this idea that if you have millions of square feet of greenhouse, there is going to be an automatic market for that product. We took a bit of a different approach, and we said, the reality is we need to find consumers and patients first. We need to build demand amongst consumers and patients first. We need to build anticipation. And so it's a bit of a different view. We want to build that portfolio of demand amongst our consumers so that we are able to ultimately bring the product to those consumers through those distribution arrangements. So we are building distribution channels while others are building greenhouses. And we think that is going to be a powerful differentiator in the future. Next slide, please. Some of the products that we currently have, and we're incredibly proud again, that we have an existing product portfolio that we're already selling to both patients and adult use consumers here in Canada. We have our 4 oils that we launched late in 2017 that now make up over 45% of our total patient sales with a significant markup. The product was initially introduced as a 60 milliliter bottle, and what we recognized almost immediately to our sales and marketing team was that it has a rather high price point. And so how do you get new patients to adopt the Emblem product? And we realized it was as simple as offering a smaller unit size in the bottle so that the price of entry was a little bit less. The patient could experience the product, determine whether they liked it, and then move up to the larger size. So as we introduced the 30 milliliter bottle, we saw our sales increase significantly. As I mentioned, we are going to be launching our oil-filled capsules. Sorry, we'll just go back one slide if you can. Our oil-filled capsules, they'll be launching later this year. They will be a branded product. And one of the things that we're incredibly proud of about this product, and it's brought to life by the fact that we have an incredibly strong team that comes from pharmaceutical product manufacturing and product innovation background, is that our capsules will not leak. They are technologically designed and manufactured so that they will not leak. Whereas some of the competitors that may not have this experience, some of the capsules themselves may leak in a bottle and therefore spoil the entire bottle. That will not happen with our capsules. These will be available to both medical patients and the adult use consumers in early 2019. Next slide, please. Another product that we've recently launched is our Atmosphere Oral Sprays. Again, it's the same cannabis product or the cannabis oils that you would find in our traditional oil bottles. But this again comes in a metered dose format. So a format that a physician would feel incredibly confident prescribing to their patients. It's also quite discreet. So this is the type of product that a patient or an adult use consumer can keep in their pocket or in their purse and be able to self-dose when required. So we're seeing significant uptake already out of the gate. We're not prepared to share sales data just yet, but this already has showcased itself as one of our most popular products. And again, this product right now is available in the medical space, but it will be available in the adult use space in early 2019 as well. And then finally, one of the products that we're working on through our partnership with CannTab is the sustained release compressed powder tablet. So this will look like your standard, let's call it a Tylenol type of pill in a compressed powder format that will sustain release over a period of 12 hours. So we expect this product to enter the market at some point in 2019. It is pending Health Canada approval, but we are working with CannTab and making a lot of progress. We've recently finished our dissolution studies, and we are now moving into the pharmacokinetic studies that we're designing with our medical advisory team. Next slide, please. From an adult use strategy perspective, we launched the Symbol brand, which we are already seeing significant traction for in the markets in which we're selling it, and those being Ontario, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. We're incredibly proud that I think we are one of the only few LPs in Canada that actually met 100% of our commitments to the provincial governments and to the retail partners that we had established. So, all of the credit is owed to my operations team and our planning teams here at Emblem, but they were incredibly strong in terms of their planning process to make sure that we had enough product available, that we had the supply chain well established, and that we were able to meet those needs. Well, again, still having enough product available to meet our patient needs. So while we've seen some of the other LPs in the marketplace right now are struggling to meet patient demand because they over-allocated to the provinces, Emblem was able to make sure that we had enough product in our vaults to satisfy both and meet 100% of our commitments to both our patients and our consumers. Now, when it comes to the Symbol brand itself, we were very, very intentional in terms of the brand creation. We saw some of our competitors bring their adult use brands to market, and some took an approach that we wouldn't necessarily believe is the best approach. They had incredibly strong medical brands, and then they came out with adult use brands that were somewhat cliche and unoriginal in the adult use space, and didn't necessarily speak to the value proposition of the company overall. So what we did is we said, we know there's a lot of equity already built into the Emblem name. It's a trusted brand amongst physicians and amongst patients Canada-wide. So how can we leverage that brand strength by introducing a new brand into the adult use space? And so we came up with the name Symbol, and Symbol is actually a synonym for Emblem. So it was very intentional. The other thing we did is we designed a bright blue package. And as you can see on this slide, bright blue stands out very well against a white background. So when you think about a white background on, for example, the Ontario Cannabis Store website, our product pops on that page. It also pops on retail shelf. So we believe that's one of the reasons why we are getting such positive traction for the Symbol brand so early out of the gates of the adult use market being open. And then finally, there's a merchandising strategy that's been employed by all the provinces, which is good, better, and best. It is how they wanted the products classified. So we went in as a better product. And the reason we did this was because, again, we believe in quality and consistency for any brand or any product, but we believe that would be the largest market for the product in Ontario, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and ultimately across Canada. And we also believe that that would be the optimal opportunity for us to price our product well for an advantage. And again, we are seeing incredibly positive traction right out of the gates. Next slide, please. So as you can probably tell, we believe in products and brands. And many would say that Emblem is well on its way to becoming a consumer packaged goods company or a pharmaceutical company in the cannabis space. And so we thought, what's the best way to reinforce our belief in product strategy and brand strategy, but to partner with a traditional consumer packaged goods company. And so this, again, was another first of its kind partnership here in Canada. We partnered with Greenspace Brands. Greenspace is a leading consumer packaged goods company in the health and wellness space, the natural food space, the organic space. They have a number of key brands such as Kiju Juice, Rolling Meadows Milks, Central Roast, Nuts, Cedar Juice, a very popular product portfolio. And they were looking to get involved in the CBD space. So what we've done with them is we've essentially established a partnership where we will be co-developing a brand, a new brand of products that will be CBD based. What's unique about this partnership is we believe it blurs the lines between your traditional retail stores, such as the Loblaws, Shoppers Drug Mart, and or a natural health food store, and the licensed retailers like the Ontario Cannabis Stores or a Fire and Flower. So we will be introducing a brand into the traditional retail, the Loblaws, that will be a hemp-based product. We will be introducing the same brand into the adult use stores, the licensed retailers, but it will be a cannabis-based CBD product. What we love about this strategy is that there will be brand recognition created as people walk the halls of Loblaws or of Shoppers Drug Mart. And then they also see that same brand online in the OCS or a Fire and Flower store. We believe there's significant strength there. Initially, we plan on launching with a capsule product, but our plans are to move into additional products like beverages and or edibles. And when you look at some of the products that Greenspace already has within their portfolio, there are clear synergies and clear opportunities where we could do a cannabis-infused product. So we're incredibly proud of this partnership. We're doing brand development right now, and we're hoping to launch that brand late this year and have product in market by Q2 of 2019. Next slide, please. So I think it's clear that our focus is going to be on additional product development and additional movement into the adult use space and into the medical space. So we are looking at beverages opportunities. We continue to look at edibles opportunities. We believe vape pens will make up a significant portion of the market. We're looking at topicals and, of course, concentrates. But at the end of the day, what makes a brand successful is it comes down to those 4 key pillars. It's got to be innovative. The product has to stand out. It's got to be of high quality. It's got to have significant brand strength. And at the end of the day, it better be consistent. We do not want consumers experiencing a product one day and then having a different experience another time. It has to maintain that consistency. And we believe that through our partnerships and our supply agreements and our product manufacturing strategy, we will certainly be able to achieve that. Next slide, please. So what makes us believe we can create great brands? I spent the first 20 years of my career in a variety of marketing and advertising roles, most recently as the CEO of a mid-sized Canadian advertising agency with offices in both Toronto and Montreal. And I worked on some of the most preeminent brands, one of them being LCBO, Steam Whistle, which is a craft beer brand, the Keg Steakhouse and Bar, which is probably one of the most popular steakhouse chains here in Canada, and it is known specifically for offering a consistent experience, Church & Dwight, and Bank of Montreal. And I think what that allows us to do is, given my experience working with such a variety of different companies and different brands, it allowed us to walk into Emblem without a tunnel focus on the way things should be done. We were able to sort of open our minds to the way multiple categories operate, and if there are opportunities for us to zig while some of our competitors zag, based on that prior experience. Maria Guest joined us from Labatt, where she spent 18 years in product innovation, brand strategy, and marketing, and oversaw some of Labatt's most successful product launches in their history during her tenure there. In fact, she oversaw the launch of Bud Light Lime here in Canada, which was one of Labatt's most successful launches. And then finally, Tim Andrews is our in-house VP Creative Director. Tim is the mastermind behind the Symbol brand. He leads all of our design strategy right now, so all of our blog posts, all of our Instagram, all of our social is designed and delivered through Tim's leadership. And Tim has significant experience working with a number of great brands as well. Why we love having an in-house creative team and why we love the opportunity to have people that really understand who we are in-house is exactly for that reason. When we're creating brands, they come from the people that live and know the Emblem brand. So it never comes across as cliche. It's always got that consistency and that evolution across our full brand portfolio. And quite frankly, it's also more efficient to have in-house creative resources than to constantly be relying on third parties. Next slide, please. GrowWise is our network of nurses and clinics. GrowWise was essentially created to fill the role of the pharmacist. So when the cannabis market initially opened up to patients were able to go to their physician to get a prescription, but then from that point forward, were often left on their own to figure out which LP to sign up with, side effects of product, how to use the product, etc. So we created GrowWise, which is we have 13 clinics and a number of nurse practitioners that actually go and sit within those clinics. And following the physician providing a prescription to a patient, that patient is then sent to the GrowWise nurse, where he or she then provides product education to the patient, talks to them about side effects, talks to them about product benefit, and then ultimately is their responsibility to sign that patient up online with an LP. Next slide, please. But beyond just providing patient education and a patient resource, this has also become obviously one of Emblem's largest acquisition opportunities for patients. And currently, about 65% of our patient growth is coming through GrowWise. So it has been significant because they feel that trust through our GrowWise team that we are offering the best solutions and the best product options to those patients. As a result of GrowWise building such a strong reputation in the medical market and being considered such a strong educator, something else that we did that was a first is we formed a partnership with Durham College to form a college program for students that want to get into the cannabis space moving forward. So we've been working with Durham on the syllabus, and that's been a great partnership thus far. We are also selling our services to retail. So a number of retailers have approached us and they've asked us if we could provide the training to their customer service reps. And that's something that we've obliged as a new opportunity to monetize the GrowWise brand. So beyond just patient acquisition, it's about education, and it's about finding greater opportunities to monetize the strength of the GrowWise team. Next slide, please. We're really proud of this slide. I think it's a pretty clear indication that our patient acquisition efforts are working. The gray bar is patient growth in Canada. The red bar is patient growth at Emblem. So a recent announcement was that we surpassed 5,000 patients, and that number continues to grow. And we're looking forward to providing an update during our Q3 update later this month in terms of overall patient growth. But we are seeing significant growth. And the reason why the gray bar stops in June, just for everyone's awareness, is because Health Canada has stopped providing guidance on the patient numbers as of June. So that's why it's a little bit behind in terms of our overall patient growth. But significant, and I think patients continue to come to Emblem. A surprise to us, a pleasant surprise, I think there was a lot of expectation that when the adult use market opened up, that we would see some patient recession, and that we'd see some patients moving away from the licensed producers and towards the adult use market for product. Interestingly enough, we've actually seen growth since the adult use market has opened up. The first week we saw significant growth. We've then seen it level off, but again, it continued to increase following adult use. So this gives us a lot of confidence that the medical market still has a lot of room for growth. Patients continue to come to the medical licensed producers for product because we're offering trusted supply. And another thing to remember here is that currently only about 10% of physicians are actually prescribing. So as the stigma has decreased and as cannabis becomes more normalized as a medication or as an alternative to other medications, we expect this number to only increase moving forward. Next slide, please. So we do have cross-Canada coverage. You'll see on the left there, we are Canada-wide. So number one, we are Canada-wide through our direct-to-patient network, which we sell directly from Emblem's website. But then obviously Shoppers Drug Mart will have a nationwide presence as well when they begin selling to patients. So we do have full coverage across Canada when it comes to our medical product portfolio. When it comes to the adult use, we are currently in Ontario, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and we've recently announced that we will be in BC as of January. I think what I want to make clear here as well is, and I think it's why we've been able to meet all of our commitments, is we did take somewhat of a conservative approach. And we made sure that we partnered with the provinces that we thought would have the largest impact, that would have the greatest opportunity for sales, being Ontario and Alberta. And we wanted to make sure that we had the product available to actually meet those expectations. So while some of our competitors spread themselves incredibly thin by going Canada-wide right out of the gate and may have missed some of the expectations that they set with those provincial bodies, I think our more conservative approach has proven quite strong. At the end of the day, we are making first impressions with our retail partners, whether it's the Ontario Cannabis Stores, the AGLC, Fire and Flower, Starbuds. So you want to make sure that those first impressions are a positive one. And we have received very positive feedback from all of our partners coming out of the gate of the adult use market. Internationally, we've just announced our definitive agreement with Acnos Pharma in Germany, which we expect to begin in Q3 of 2019, us actually exporting product and beginning sales. But we see that as just the first entry point into our international strategy. So we are looking at many other markets as well, whether it's the UK, Australia, Portugal. This is just our first. We recognize that there's going to be a significant opportunity for LPs to build first mover advantage and get into these countries quickly. And so that is a significant part of our strategic focus. Next slide, please. With regards to our partnership with Acnos, so it is a 60-40 joint venture with Acnos Pharma. They have been operating in the German market for a number of years already. It was a great cultural and strategic fit for Emblem. The German market is 3 times the size of Canada's, and there will be significant upside in terms of revenue and margin opportunity in that German market. As I mentioned previously, through this partnership, we will have access to approximately 20,000 pharmacies, and we expect those first shipments to start going out to ACNOS in early Q3. Ultimately, this is dependent on our GMP certified facility, which is currently under construction, nearing completion. Next slide, please. Speaking of which, so our world-class product innovation center, which we are in the process of finalizing in Paris, Ontario, it is a 30,000 square foot state-of-the-art building. This is where we're going to be doing all of our product manufacturing, our formulation development, our R&D, our packaging, and so we're quite confident that this will be completed in Q1, and we will be seeking that GMP certification shortly thereafter. Within the 30,000 square foot product innovation center will be a 5,000 square foot laboratory, and that's where we'll be doing all of our oil extractions and the packaging. From this facility, we will be able to export our oil products, whether it's the 30 milliliter bottle, 60 milliliter bottle, oral sprays, or the capsules, to the German market as a finished good. There will be some level of compounding required when it lands in Germany, but ultimately the goal is to send finished goods so that they can essentially just immediately distribute and start selling. Next slide, please. Just to highlight some of the team, we do have an incredibly strong bench at Emblem in terms of our leadership team and a number of new faces. So I've touched on my background and Maria's background, but a bit of background on Alex. He joined us in late 2017 as our CFO. He's held several senior finance positions in mining at Barrick Gold and Teranga Gold Corporation, and well educated with his CPA and CFA. So he's been a great partner to the executive leadership team here at Emblem. Wayne Krepner just recently joined us as president of Emblem Medical. Recently, actually, as in just 2 weeks ago. Wayne was formerly the president and chief operating officer at Concordia International Corp. Prior to that, he was with Trimel Pharmaceuticals, and prior to that, he was at BioVale. Interestingly, Wayne holds both an honors Bachelor of Science and a MBA. So he's incredibly well educated. He's got a great background, and I think he's going to do a fantastic job in terms of helping us with our product innovation moving forward in the medical space. Adam Superior, Chief Strategy Officer, longest standing employee at Emblem, we believe at this point, joined the company in 2014. He helped us establish GrowWise, which he built from the ground up and ran for a number of years. He supported the medical team through 2018 as Chief Operating Officer, holds an MBA from the Schulich School of Business at York University. Great addition to the team, great team member and certainly incredibly valuable. And then finally, Kim Harrell, reporting into Wayne, is our head of medical sales. So Kim joined us from Purdue. Kim has built a team of medical sales reps that are going out and building relationships with physicians, educating them on the benefits of cannabis, and educating them on the product that Emblem provides. Next slide, please. Overall, just a quick snapshot of the business. We do have a strong balance sheet right now. We still have cash on hand. Again, that came as a result of the pivot away from building a greenhouse towards the supply agreement. Our current patient counts are around over 5,000 and growing. As Alan mentioned, we had significant Q over Q growth, and we expect that growth to continue. We now have just over 100 employees, a committed capacity of over 30,000 kilograms annually as of May 2019, and we move forward from there. Next slide. Really appreciate everyone's time and interest, and I will now open the floor with Alan to questions. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Nick. I know everybody appreciated that. As a reminder to our participants, you can type questions in the box. We have a bunch, and I'll be getting to them in just a moment. I had a few I wanted to start with, if that's okay, Nick.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure for a lot of the people listening today, this may be the first time that they've had a chance to hear from you. Of course, we did publish an interview a while ago they could listen to, but can you just kind of remind us what prompted you to join Emblem? What brought you into our industry?
Well, I think a few things. I was actually an early investor in Emblem. I had watched it. I'd watched it grow since its initial RTO, and I really liked the company's focus, even back then, on product innovation and on having a medical first and a patient first approach. And so always attracted the company, and I thought they had an incredible brand and were building a strong enterprise. I think, what attracted me to the opportunity was meeting the board and meeting the leadership team at the time, meeting gentlemen such as Adam and Alex through the interview process, and meeting the board, and just realizing this was an incredibly professional company. I thought it had a great foundation to build upon. I thought there was some unexploited opportunity that we could really capitalize on as we grew the business, but I found the category fascinating. I think the other thing is, and I think every CEO of a cannabis company would say this right now, is that we're in an incredibly, it's an incredibly nascent opportunity for all of us to be building companies and brands here in Canada that really have a global first mover advantage. So it was an incredible opportunity for me at my stage of my career to become part of a company that is literally creating history, or becoming part of a sector that is literally creating history. So, for someone at my age bracket and at my level of seniority, there weren't many other great opportunities out there as Emblem, and it was a huge opportunity, and I'm thrilled I joined.
Great. My next question, and thanks for sharing some information about Aphria. I wasn't aware about the indexing against the price in the future, so you've built in kind of some protection against falling prices. I'm curious, how are we to read into this? Is this flower to be used mainly for derivatives, and is it a lot of it going to go to Germany and other markets, or what exactly is the use of the Aphria supply?
Sure. So, first of all, it is with regards to the supply itself, it's going to be 50% in crude oil and 50% in dried flower. So the 50% in crude oil will certainly be reused, or will certainly be used for the production of derivative products. When it comes to dried flower, we have an opportunity to buy existing strains from Aphria and or have them grow our proprietary strains. So those are discussions that we're still having with them. But there is a unique opportunity for us to still offer our exclusive and proprietary strains, but simply have them grown by Aphria. In terms of the overall market and where we're looking right now, there's obviously the Canadian domestic medical market, there's the domestic adult use market, but we are looking at those opportunities internationally. So yes, this would satisfy Germany to begin with, and then other international opportunities. And then finally, there's also an opportunity for us to wholesale the product. So we've bought quite a large bulk from Aphria, and there is an opportunity for us to actually carve that into smaller tranches, and in some cases, if we choose to, resell it to other LPs at a premium.
Got it. Okay. And then you detailed the relationship with GreenSpace, and this is really interesting to me. Trying to exploit different markets. In this case, CBD market that's from hemp. And as you're probably aware, in the United States, things are changing pretty quickly, and I'm thinking that there's going to be an opportunity for Canadian LPs like yourself to maybe enter the United States through the CBD channel. And I'm wondering, first, if that's on your radar, and second, more broadly, is GreenSpace the only partnership you can participate in, or do you have other types of opportunities you can pursue?
Yeah, so it is with GreenSpace, it is not an exclusive, so we are certainly open to exploring other potential partnership opportunities. So I'll start with that. So that we are pleased with that relationship, but we made clear that we certainly want to be able to continue to explore other opportunities and or create our own opportunities independently in-house. We recognize the opportunity in the U.S. right now, and that's certainly something that we are looking at and exploring. As a publicly traded company listed on the TSXV, we want to make sure that we are not doing anything that would put that listing at risk. So we will only make investments in the U.S. or look at U.S. opportunities that are federally legal. But we are certainly looking at opportunities to break into the U.S. and or bring brands that are already established in the U.S. into Canada. Alan, I think you were alluding to this. I think there is going to be a reduction of rules and regulations when it comes to CBD derived from hemp. We are seeing that in the U.S. already. and I expect to start seeing that in Canada. I don't have a definitive timeline for when that will happen, but we do expect at some point in the future we will be able to sell hemp-based CBD products on your traditional retail store shelves, while you'll still be selling the cannabis-derived CBD products at the licensed retailers. So that was certainly one of the reasons why we thought this was an attractive opportunity.
Got it. And then I have one more before I open it up. And you did a great job of kind of talking about some of the potential to take your GrowWise asset in other directions like education. But I am curious if you're going to build more stores at this point, given I heard you that the market's still growing, but it is probably at its halfway point or something like that. So it seems like there's going to be less and less of a need for these physical clinics. I'm curious about your outlook there.
Sure, Alan, it's Adam. I'm gonna jump in and answer this question. I think where we've seen the advantage of the GrowWise model, as Nick indicated, is embedding the nurse educators into existing medical clinic environments. So rather than deploy capital into building brick and mortar cannabis clinics, rather we can find opportunities to embed our nurses in clinic environments where there are doctors prescribing. So there's really no capital commitment there, but it does allow us to provide that education, expand the GrowWise brand, and ultimately capture those patients.
Got it. Thanks, Adam. Okay, so now I'm going to share some questions that our participants have asked. And the first one, I guess, is extending a little bit on what I was asking, but it's a little bit broader. And the question is, are there any pending partnerships with U.S. entities being considered at this time?
So I don't know if I can answer that question, but we are, I'll put it this way, we are always looking at opportunities for partnership. So I would not want to say anything out of line or leading at this point. I don't want to provide guidance, but we are certainly always looking at opportunities for partnership. And if there are great brands in the U.S. that we believe we can have significant impact by bringing that brand to Canada, we are exploring those right now. In terms of Emblem having a presence in the U.S., again, it's incredibly complicated right now. Given federal regulations and federal law and our TSXV listing, but those are things that we are talking about internally and looking at exploring further.
Got it. And then the next question from this participant was, will Emblem pursue an international exclusivity agreement with CannTab related to that extended release tablet and the other products you're developing?
Yeah, it's a good question. Currently, we have exclusive rights for that product in Canada. I think we are obviously working quite closely with CannTab, and we do have that opportunity in Germany. So we will be working with the CannTab team to see if there are opportunities to get further international distribution rights. At this point, it is limited to the Canadian marketplace.
Gotcha. Another question, and you touched on some of the ways that you're making Emblem stand out in a very difficult environment in terms of the name and the color and all that, but somebody's just asking, is there anything else that you can do to make your brand one that customers specifically ask for in the stores?
Yeah, I think so. Look, I think there's a few things we can do, and there's also a few side benefits that we've already received. Symbol, our adult use brand, has been highlighted in a number of PR articles about the legalization of cannabis in Canada. So I think as a result of that, those let's call them earned impressions that we've received through the free PR, we are already starting to garner some support for the brand as a result of people just reading about it, learning more about cannabis, and consistently seeing Symbol top of that pile. So PR remains a focus of the company in terms of building our brand strategy. I think pricing will continue to be something that helps us differentiate. Package design will help us differentiate. And then I think ultimately what it comes down to is our partnerships with retail. So as I mentioned previously, we've got the partnership with Fire and Flower. We've got the partnership with Starbuds. We'll have a partnership with Shoppers Drug Mart. And it's really through those deep partnerships that when a consumer walks into store and speaks with that customer service rep, it's our hope, based on these partnerships that we established, that Symbol will be one of the top brands and or the net new brands that we'll be creating as a result of our House of Brand strategy. Those brands will be referred to and recommended by those in-store reps. And again, we've also received, as I mentioned previously, some very positive feedback from the provincial agencies. So as a result of the positive feedback we're getting, there's a request for additional product to be sourced and to be provided by Emblem.
Perfect. Okay. And then kind of a technical question, but if your current production allows for 5,000 bottles and 2,000 sprays a month with one shift, are there plans to add a second shift and be able to have a higher output?
So, I'll start by answering this. I may have Alex jump in, but with the construction being completed of our new product innovation center, which is scheduled for completion in early Q1, we expect to quadruple our output of oils products. And then as we add additional shifts, you can imagine that will double again or triple again based on how many shifts that we create. So that is certainly a plan, is looking at how we can optimize the efficiency of the facility and the production line that we've created. And we are looking at significant opportunities for growth in terms of our capacity.
Okay, and then I think you answered this, but I just want to make sure somebody was looking for clarification. The CanTab product, when is it going to actually be launched?
So it's pending Health Canada approval right now. So right now, it falls within under the ACMPR, it falls within the category of an edible, as we understand. So it's not currently classified as a tablet. So ultimately, it is pending Health Canada's approval in terms of when we can begin to sell that product in the Canadian marketplace. It's our expectation that will happen in 2019.
Got it. And then there was a question also about, and I think you answered this as well, but just to clarify, the timing of being able to sell in the adult use market your sprays, when would that be?
We're hoping to get sprays into market in early Q1. So with the next product call that comes from the OCS and the AGLC, we will be listing sprays as products that we have available for the adult use space. And we also intend on selling our capsules in early Q1 as well.
Okay. And then a question about vaporizers that you're developing with DoseCan. Will they be able to be sold into the medical channel before the adult use channel? And if so, when?
Do you want to take a lead on that, Adam?
Sure. As far as we understand from a regulatory perspective, that vaporizers would not be allowed for medical sooner than adult use.
Okay. Another kind of technical question. What will the monthly output be for the gel caps when they're launched? And will you be able to increase that output?
Sure, I can field this one. Hi everyone, it's Alex Janovich here from Emblem. So when we launch the oil-filled capsules, we will be we'll sort of be working on a ramp-up plan as we move from our current lab in the existing building into the new lab in the new building to be completed in Q1. So as we ramp up by mid-year, we'll be on target to produce approximately 1 million capsules a month.
Okay, and then are you able to talk about the individual markets, kind of what you're seeing there in terms of the progress in like Alberta, Saskatchewan, and even in Ontario? I know you touched on it a little bit, but obviously we're seeing some shortages. But from your perspective, are there any other observations you can share?
I mean, I can sort of anecdotally right now, I think we are pleased with the progress in all markets. From what we understand and what we're seeing, Symbol is one of the top-selling brands in the Alberta market and the Saskatchewan market. In Ontario, we've seen great sales results thus far. We've had premium placement on the OCS website, on the first page. We have product available that we continue to sort of resupply to those partners. So we are quite pleased with the initial results of the sales of the Symbol brand into the markets in which we operate. Beyond that, we can't share any additional specific sales data at this point.
Sure. And then as far as the resupply goes, especially in Ontario, What is the timing for that? It sounded like you're going to be adding more products, obviously, but just for the current symbol products, what is the process for getting resupply?
So we expect, and again, this is an assumption, but we expect the next product call to take place likely in December, and that's when we can introduce new SKUs. I think right now there's an opportunity with our existing SKUs to consistently replenish the orders with the OCS and with our other partners. But in terms of introducing the new products like the oral sprays and some of the other oil-based products, it would be as a result of the product call. And again, we expect it in December, but the timing is somewhat TBD.
Okay, and then a question about the Green Space brands timing. Have they given you guys a date when they intend to launch products?
So we are working with them right now. Actually, so Tim Andrews, who I introduced on the branding slide, Tim Andrews has been briefed internally. He is working on developing a brand currently. We've got some naming ideas, and I know the team is working on design ideas now. But the timing for the launch of those products would likely be Q2 of 2019.
Q2, okay. And then a question, and this gets into the marketing side. To what extent are digital channels part of your distribution strategy? Do you have plans in place to leverage SEO? And it sounds like you guys are doing a lot on this front, but it's also very limited, I would imagine. So what exactly are you doing on the digital front?
Yeah, look, I think we have a pretty robust online media strategy and digital strategy. We've got a very strong social presence across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter for all of our brands. The Symbol website and the Emblem website are both beautifully designed and SEO optimized. There are some limitations around SEM advertising, just given some of the constraints with regards to the advertising regulations and what Google will do. But I think with regards to our online strategy overall, we are leveraging all of the channels that we're legally allowed to incredibly well. And I think, in fact, we're probably a leader in that area.
Okay, and a question about AFRIA in terms of what kind of protections do you have against quality control issues?
Do you want to address that?
Sure, happy to. So in the agreement that we have with AFRIA, there's some very specific product parameters in that agreement for the various strains and oil products that we'll be purchasing. So AFRIA will be testing all material before it's sent to Emblem, confirming that it conforms with the specifications, and so it'll be governed by that obligation.
Okay, and then my own question on this is the flower part that they're sending you, and I know some of it's going into foreign markets press, but the part for the Canadian market, you spoke earlier about good, better, and best. Which category is that intended for? Is it also for the better, or is it for a different category?
Alan, I think it's going to depend. I think the other thing is that the flower will, initially at least, be for the domestic market. The oils are what we are going to be initially shipping to the international markets through the GMP certified. So we will. I'll put it this way: we are looking at introducing a number of brands into the market next year that align with the overall merchandising strategy of the OCS, the AGLC, and the other government bodies across Canada. And so what we would love to see is a good brand, a better brand, and a best brand. And ultimately, it's going to come down to where that product is grown, the strains in which are being grown on our behalf, whether they're proprietary or whether we're purchasing existing strain from AFRIA or another supplier for that matter, or whether we're growing it ourselves in our cultivation facility in Paris, Ontario. So I think sort of the answer is yes to all of the above. There will be product that is in the good category, there will be product in the best category, and there will be product in the better category.
Great. And then a question about your listing. We've seen a lot of companies, and I don't think you're there on the qualifications yet, but we've seen a lot of companies in Canada, once their sales reach a certain amount in their balance sheets, move to the TSX. Is this a goal of yours? And also in the United States, would there be an uplisting potential?
Yes, absolutely. We are looking at that, and it's certainly on the priority list for 2019 to evaluate that uplisting both in Canada to the TSX and then potentially to one of the senior exchanges in the U.S. as well.
Okay, and I'm struggling to get to the bottom of the questions, but we're almost at the bottom. I think I'm there. So as a reminder to everybody, if you do have a question, type it into the box and we'll get to it. Let's see if there's another question. Oh, well, here's an interesting question. I can't answer it, so I'll let you. How does someone from the United Kingdom invest in your company? And obviously they can invest, open a Canadian account, but do you have anything more direct to answer?
We're going to pass it off to Ethan.
So traditionally, online brokers might be the easiest. I personally use Questrade. Their fees are quite reasonable. They're not paying me to say this. That would be the first place I would look. Either that or maybe speak to domestic brokers, see if I can help you out. But yeah, an online broker would likely be the easiest way to go about it.
Okay, and I'm not really seeing any other questions. So at this time, I want to thank all of y'all for your participation today. And just give you one last chance, Nick, if there's anything else that you'd like to add to our conversation thus far.
Look, Alan, I really appreciate the time, and I appreciate all the attendees. I think this is just the beginning for Emblem. 2018 has been a year of significant evolution and focus, and I think we're going to continue our pursuit of creating great products, building great brands, and making sure that we have the distribution agreements lined up to make sure those brands land in the hands of patients and consumers. So great things to come, and we really appreciate the time.
Okay, great. And as a reminder to everybody, if you joined late or if you want to hear the broadcast again, we'll get a recording out shortly, as well as a written summary. You can learn more about Emblem by visiting New Cannabis Ventures, going to the featured page, clicking on Emblem, and that will take you to their investor dashboard. You can also connect with the company there. Similarly, they have a robust website, and you can find them in all the social media places. So with that, we'll end this, and I appreciate everybody's attention today. Thanks again.
Thank you.